Good evening, Chetan. Good evening, Shubham. Vishwas. Good evening. Okay, fine. So let's start today's session. Good evening, everyone. Abhishek, Raj, Shubham, Vishwas, Chetan. सर टेलीग्राम पे मैसेज किया था आपको. हाँ शुभम, आई हैव सीन योर मैसेज. मीन्स मोस्ट ऑफ द मैसेज आई हैव सीन. आई विल डिस्कस विद यू शुभम, डोंट वरी. आई शुभम. Okay. Good evening, Anil. So, good evening, Dipti. Shubham, I will reply you. Don't worry. Okay. So, in the last class, we have wind up our discussion about history of Indian economy, and while winding up there, I told you since 1991, since 1991, we have made lot of changes in our economy, right? At structural as well as functional level. Structural as well as functional level, at both level we have made certain changes, right? So that changes are in various domain, and in your syllabus they have one topic known as monetary policy and fiscal policy reforms since 1991. So I was going through all these things to how to make you understand. What I found that ki one crucial element, a basic conceptual crucial element is missing. What I have taught till then now, basically I have covered monetary policy and fiscal policy both, right? Fiscal policy both I have covered. So I can go here directly to address this topic. But what I found that until unless you do not have a basic understanding of balance of payment, balance of payment, and how foreign exchange works, right? If you do not know these two things, then it is going to little bit difficult to understand all these reforms process initiated since 1991, right? It's maybe you are going to get it, but the building the picture is not going to be completed. So what I have decided that rather going with this one, first, I will explain this balance of payment and foreign exchange related things clearly. Then I will go with this topic of what monetary policy and fiscal policy reform. So this is the change I did, right? Girish Sharma, please check my emails as well. Girish, my dear, I means I don't know means you have my mail ID. So where I think you are referring to the mail of means mail sent to the crack grade B, to the official platform. So I do not have any idea, but yes, I will convey your message to the admin team. If you have dropped any mail, I will ask them. They will reply you. Okay, but as of right now, I don't think so. You have my personal mail ID for the communication. So Okay, I will miss. I'll ask Ashok ji to reply you. Fine. Anil and any other. Ayusha, Vikul, good evening. Shrikant, Sri Krishnakant. Acha, Sri Krishnakant. Okay, good evening. So this is what there is a slight change in the lecture plan. Means what I have thought ki okay, I will go through that, but I was not very convinced ki without any this conceptual understanding of this balance of payment and foreign exchange, you are going to get in the better manner. So this is why I have just changed. Okay, Girish, I will ask them. Sir, where to send a descriptive answer of last night? Ping me on Telegram. For you guys, I have means I told you कि I generally do not frequently log in this Telegram, but I found that कि I have to, so that's why I installed in the desktop. Not installed, but I'm using through the desktop, so you can send it to me directly. You can go to the Telegram group, and from there you can directly send it to me. Okay. So let's start this topic of balance of payment and foreign currency exchange rate. Means each and everything related to the foreign currency and each and everything related to the balance of payment I will explain today in subsequent lectures also, because it takes some time to understand it in the proper manner. Right. So first I will start with the balance of payment, what it is. Then I will come up with the foreign currency, its market, how it's work, right? Each and everything it's related, politics, how it is currency manipulation, and few years back there was a concept of currency war and currency war between US and China. So this concept was uh, in the domain of international economics, right? So I will also let you know what do you mean by currency war. So all of the things I am going to explain, and it is quite interesting but technical also. It is interesting but it is technical also, so I hope you will make your composure throughout the lecture so that you can not just enjoy the lecture but you can understand and you can answer the questions also. Fine. So okay, so primarily any country basically it is defined as what? Open economy or closed economy. Open economy or closed economy. If a country is not having any kind of the interaction, if a country is not having any kind of the interaction in terms of foreign exchange or any kind of the business, if the country is do not having such kind of the business with other countries, maybe there is a cultural exchanges but there is no business between two countries, and this country is kind of the country who do not participate for business and related things, then we will call it as a closed economy. Right. In the present context, it is not possible for a country to be remain a closed economy because there is a interdependence. Right. The concept of interdependence, and human beings are social animal. So it is not possible ki you cannot interact. Right. So technically, it is not possible right now. You are a closed economy, but yes, sometimes you are being forced to be the closed economy. For example, because of Russian invasion on Ukraine, Western countries are putting sanctions against Russia. So they are trying to force Russia to be as a closed economy. They are trying to make the Russia as a closed economy so that they can suffer, because Russia is dependent on what? Dependent on exports and imports. So they want to choke Russia in order to punish them because they have invaded Ukraine, right? So the sanctions are being put to make it as a closed economy. So right now, a closed economy means what? Closed economy, practically no country want to be a closed economy, but they are forced to be made as a closed economy in terms of sanctions and other things. For example, North Korea. North Korea have very limited trade and commerce relation with only China. Apart from that, most of the countries, they do not directly have a relation with what, with the North Korea. And most of the Western countries, even India, is not very keen to have a, I mean, kind of the good relation, or you can say the proper relation and a normal relation with the North Korea. It's a kind of extremist state, right? So this is the concept of closed economy. And yes, North Korea. Any other example apart from North Korea? Sir, is there any country today which has not applied LPG reforms? No, most of the countries in the world, they have applied for it. There are some dictator countries like Iran, right? Like Iran is still. You can see in the last few years, even Saudi Arabia is doing the lot of reforms, Big Bang reforms under MSD, right? Not Mahendra Singh Dhoni, Mohammed bin Salman, right? So Mohammed bin Salman, he is doing the lot of reforms in the Saudi Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So most of the countries doing this kind of the reforms, liberalization, privatization, globalization. Though if you will look the West Asian countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, all these countries, right? So at present, Iran is the only country which is not going for such kind of the reforms, and especially in the Western countries, to be liberal is the biggest challenge. Global, they are already, right? Privatization is also there, especially in other countries except Iran, right? So if you will ask me ki which country, then answer is Iran. Iran is a kind of country, actually they did reforms, lot of reforms. What picture you are able to see Iran as a society today, if you will see the picture of Iran as a society in 1970s, that is completely contrasting picture, right? But after Islamic revolution, their society is kind of closed, and there is a religious head of the state, right? So Iran is a kind of example. No, no, Syria was never. Syria was one of see. Syria is one of the modern state. Syria is one of the modern state, right? So Syria was always Syria, Jordan, all these nations. They are very open for each and everything. Now, what happened? The rise of ISIS and politics, feud, lot of things. That's why. So, if you will ask me कि which country, the question of Shashwat, oh sorry, Vikul have asked this question: is there any country today which has not applied LPG reforms? The answer is the only country which are any kind of the dictatorship, right? Dictatorship, and they do not want to go for it until unless they are under the dictatorship. Only those countries are being there. Is Afghanistan is also facing such kind of the sanction after the Taliban rule? See, Taliban was already under huge sanction when they start ruling in 2001, right? When they started ruling in the 2001, they are already under huge sanctions. So most of the sanctions are not lifted at yet. Okay, yes, there are some concessions given to the Taliban in recent time, right? But still they are under huge sanctions, right? And nobody will go right now Taliban to make an investment, right? It's a kind of country, and you can say the geography of the Afghanistan is a curse for the Afghans, right? The geography itself is a curse for them, right? And but still it is known as a graveyard of empires. Regarding Syria, the issue is what? Zimbabwe is also open. Iran is a kind of example. Cuba has certain extent they have opened the market, right? To certain extent they have opened the market, right? Even if you see, don't try to compartmentalization, right? Here in the economy, we always talk in terms of degree, right? So Cuba is a kind of a country under the particular leadership, right? Now they have made a lot of reforms. Chinese, they call themselves communist country, right? Communism. And communism means what? According to the Karl Marx, communism will only came in the picture only when you will call yourself a communist country. That can happen only when there is a no private property. So there is no concept of private property. So sometimes students get confused with this word private property. What do you mean by private property? So I just want to clarify here is private property and other term is personal property. So if you have a car which you are using for your own purpose, that is your personal property. But if you have car which you are using for the purpose of income generation on your own, then that car is what? Your private property. So in the communist system, there shall be no private property. So who is going to control the means of production? According to the communism, it should be held by community, not by government. Not by government. The classic theory which was given by the Karl Marx, he was never means he know that if there will be the government, definitely there will be exploitation. So only community owned things should be there. What you say, what you can see in India like cooperative kind of the things, the common ownership, right? The means of production is going to be commonly owned rather than owned by the particular person or government, right? So this is the nature. So if you will see the example of like China, Cuba, all these countries who proclaim themselves ki we are what, we are communist country, they are only in the name they are communist country, right? China, one of the biggest capitalist country, right? One of the biggest capitalist country, but problem is you do not have a political freedom like you have the political freedom in where countries like India, Britain, where the democracy do exist, right? So this is quite different thing. So if you will ask ki though country have went for the liberalization, privatization, and globalization, even country like Cuba also went for certain reforms, and they are open for having exports and import in the different way rather than in the classical way of what West portray. See, when we say liberalization, privatization, and globalization. When we say this thing, according to West means according to capitalist country. According to capitalist country, what it means that? It means that there should be free flow. Free flow of doing the business means anybody come and go outside, anybody come your country and do the business, and each and every sector should be have an equal opportunity. For example, for example, you have ISRO. You have ISRO. It is a government owned organization and it is responsible for launching a satellite, right? So that land is provided to the ISRO by the government of India. The land is provided to ISRO by government of India. On that land, they have established that organization, and from there, they are launching their satellite. So obviously, because you got land at the free of cost from the government of India, right? So and the salary is paid by the government of India to your employees, whereas Elon Musk, right, of US, he is managing all of his resources on his own, whether it is land or any other thing, he is managing all the resources on his own. So if ISRO is offering any satellite launch at the price of $40 million, if they are offering at $40 million, whereas Elon Musk company is going to offer at the price of $70 million. So he is going to say that it is not fair competition. He is going to protest. It is not fair competition because ISRO is highly subsidized by the government of India. Right, so it is not fair competition. So capitalists always want a kind of fair competition in terms of government should remove all kind of the subsidies or any kind of the favor to given to any company. So until unless you are not going to do this, right, For example, government of India has opened this space sector for the private companies also. If you have money, you can establish your own space company in India also, and you can start launching the satellites. So now space sector is also open. So what capitalist country feel that ki this will happen only when each and everything is going to be what privatized, whereas the socialist country have their different way. They feel that ki okay, there are 3 4 government companies who are competing with each other. There are 3 companies in our country and they are competing each other. That is fine. For example, Indian Oil and Bharat Petroleum, so both are selling their petrol. So the competition between those two is a kind of what, the reforms, open market. So this is what the difference in at the political level. So I will request you, don't go in such a way unnecessary you will put yourself in trouble because you don't know the political concepts all in sense. So no need to go there further. And sir, there is a huge chance of Indian businesses to grow in Russia. Yes, obviously. Sir, but why the America putting sanctions on Iran? It is not an attack on the sovereignty of a country. Shashwat, it's a political question, right? And I have lot of thing to express and explain, but not here on this platform because we will divert our attention. I can whatever see. I told you earlier also, right? If you want to discuss anything, let me know, right? On any particular day, if I have a time, you can ask me question related to politics, you can ask question related to economics, you can ask related to international relations, you can ask anything related to the psychology, you can ask any question related to the military things like warplanes, submarines. I have good knowledge and I love to share those knowledge if you want, right? For example, how submarine works, how the ballistic missile work, what is the difference between ballistic and cruise missiles, why a particular caliber of tank is required, low altitude, high altitude, particular warplane. For example, fighter plane. There are different category of fighter planes, right? How they work, air to air missile, how it works, engine, what is the air breathing engine. So I have means I love to read all those things, so I also love to express and I want to share with all of you if you want the knowledge. But if I will go in that direction, we are going to lose the very important time for which we are here. So let's focus only in the economic area right now. Okay, so I have told you we can categorize economy in the 2 category on the basis of external trade, commerce, and business. One is closed and one is open. From 1947 till then 1991, India was categorized as a closed economy from Western scholars. The Western scholars of Britain, entire Europe and American scholars, they called Indian economy as a closed economy because India was a non-competitive market. The policy India have taken in this era, they are highly against they are anti-global, they are anti-private, they are anti-liberal policies, right? So they do frequently call India as a closed economy. But India always maintained that we are what? We are mixed economy and we are open also, right? However, since 1991, the Western scholars again started portraying this thing since you have opened your economy. So India was being used as a kind of what? Trump card. होता है ना कि मीन्स पंडित जी जाके बताते हैं कि अरे उसकी शादी भी हम ही ने कराई थी, ठीक है, उसकी भी शादी हम ही ने कराई थी. तो सेम वे दीज वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज की यू नो हु इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर द ग्रोथ ऑफ इंडिया, दिस इज एलपीजी रिफॉर्म्स. So when India has started this LPG reforms, only then India start progressing. That is true, but why they are praising? They have 2 things. Yes, because India is progressing and they want to push other countries who still are reluctant to open further. So for that purpose also, that is why India is hugely praised in the Western countries, especially to attract those countries who still reluctant to go for such kind of the LPG reforms, right? So this is one thing. Now, when we say open economy, right, open economy, that means you are open to do business with all over the world. So, in that context, whatever external trade, commerce, whatever the flow of money is incoming, the flow of money, the foreign currencies and its flow to your country, and the outflow of foreign currency assets, each and everything to outside. For that, we do have a balance of payment account. Payments, what payments we are receiving from outside in whatever terms, whatever the payments we are receiving, right? And whatever payments we are making, right? Whatever the payments we are making, whatever the payments we are receiving, all these things we have to check on the annual basis, and whatever the flow is there, that is why the term is used balance of payment account. So the idea is payment must be balanced. How the payment must be balanced? Suppose that you have paid $40, right? You have paid $40, and you have paid $40 and you have received only $20. So there is a deficit of $20, and we have to make it balanced, right? So how it should be balanced? For that purpose, we use this terminology balance of payment, because the concept is it should be balanced. If suppose that you are going to pay $40 and you are receiving $80, means you have a surplus of $40. So that surplus should be placed somewhere, right? It should not be remain idle in the account books. It should be placed somewhere so that we can say that our account is balanced. So suppose that if you have a surplus, we will call it as a surplus in the balance of payment account, right? If we have a deficit there, so we will call it as a deficit in the balance of payment account, right? I hope this is clear till then now. Why we called as a balance of payment account? And further, if it is not clear, no need to worry. When I will explain further, you will get this clarity why it is called, means why it should be balanced, why it should be balanced. But I hope you will get this term balance of payment. Okay, fine. So this BOP, balance of payment, we divide into two parts. One is known as current account and another is known as capital account, right? Current account and capital accounts, right? For just basic understanding, I'll explain it in detail, but to get a confidence to understand the technical part, if we have some basic idea about particular thing, then it is going to be little bit easier for us, right? So in the balance of payment account, we do divide these accounts into two parts. I wrote here the current account and the capital account. So just for your basic understanding, capital account reflects change in ownership. Change in ownership flow. through various means. Inflow and outflow of foreign currency through various means, and here it shows what the change of the ownership, right? For example, uh, suppose that there is a company in India, ABC, right, and it is 100% owned by Indian private citizen. Indian private citizen means this is owned by Indian person, right? Indian person. Why I wrote private? Because it is not owned by the government. It is owned by the Indian citizen, or maybe it is owned by the government also. But now it's suppose that it's 51% shares. It 51% shares are being owned by some US company, right? And for that he made payment of suppose that 400 million dollars. So 400 million dollars came to your country, but against this is going to be what? This is going to be 400 million dollars inflow your country. But it is not just a simple inflow. With that inflow, you lose the ownership of this company, right? So you lose the ownership. So tell me where I have to put it. We received $400 million. We received $400 million, but the receiving of this $400 million is against what we have lost in terms of the ownership, right? So please tell me, should I put in the current account or should I put in the capital account? Abhishek, BOP export, the difference between export and import is of one part of BOP. It is not exactly BOP. Under the BOP, one section shows difference between export and import, that is known as a trade balance. I will come to that point. Yes, it is going to be in the capital account, right? It is going to be in the capital account. Whereas if we have exported $100 million kacha badam export, it is in trend right now. Each and everyone on Instagram is selling the kacha badam. So if we are selling that, means kacha badam in terms of export, and we are going to means sell outside our country this kacha badam with the worth of $100 million, it will $100 million means foreign currency is coming to our country, right? Foreign currency is coming to our country. But my question is, now this $100 million will go to current account or capital account? This kacha badam selling, so whatever the foreign currency you are going to earn with the selling of kacha badam, right? That is going to be in the current account. Whereas if you are going to gain the ownership, right, or lose the ownership, for example, when Tata purchased, right, why people have an affection with the Tata more means Tata as a company and Ratan Tata as an individual. Whereas if you will see the growth of Ambani's, especially Mukesh Ambani's growth, right, in last 20 years, the phenomenal growth of Ambani, right, and the phenomenal growth of Tata, right. If you will compare the fortune making, Ratan Tata stand nowhere near to Mukesh Ambani, but the Tata as a personality, right? So when they purchased, Tata has purchased this brand of British brand Land Rover Jaguar, especially the Land Rover. Land Rover and Jaguar was purchased by whom? Purchased by the Tatas. So actually, that hurt a common British people. That hurts a common British people because it's a pride of British. It's a pride of British, and generally their prime minister used to use that vehicle, Land Rover. But now it is owned by an Indian company on which Britishers ruled for more than 200 years. But people said that when Tata was purchasing that company, people said that you are making a mistake because Land Rover and Jaguar are declining companies, right? They are declining companies. You are unnecessarily putting your money there, right? But Tata said that ki, no, I know that ki how to make declining company in the profitable company, so I am going to purchase. Under that purchase, somewhere around $1 billion, $1 billion was transferred from India to UK, right? Because India means Tata, an Indian citizen who purchased that company. So there was a $1 billion outflow, $1 billion outflow from India to Britain. So can you tell me that $1 billion outflow from India to Britain, where we should put it, in the capital account, in the current account? To understand where we have to put, we have to see the nature of that outflow. Yes, $1 billion outflowed. So currencies outflowed from India to Britain. That is true. But we must have to see where that, for what purpose. So when we outflowed that $1 billion, by that outflow, we acquired what? We acquired the ownership in the firm. So that $1 billion will come in the capital account, not in the current account. I hope this is clear. Sagar, it will go to the capital account because $1 billion is outflowing, right? But against that outflow, we are getting the ownership, right? Deepti have a question. She's asking, sir, is it not ownership change with the buying of the commodity? See, that commodity is not something like that you are going to hold as an asset, right? When we write here the change of ownership, that ownership is term is used in context of what? Asset. Whereas this badam is what? That badam is an commodity. Finally, it's a commodity. For a time being, maybe if you have $100 million worth kacha badam, you can say that ki, I am having the assets worth $100 million, but ultimately it is going to be what? Ultimately, it is going to be known as what? Commodity. So it's a commodity, a thing which can be used for the purpose of consumption, right? Consumption or various other purpose. When we say ownership of asset, so asset means what? Asset means a kind of thing which can give you the regular income. Whenever you are going to hold that asset, it is going to give you the regular income. Whereas if you will sell that asset, you are going to gain some good amount of income. So both things, the value, asset value is involved there. Here in the kacha badam, the asset value is not involved, right? So this is why we put the export and import in terms of current account rather than the capital account. Yes, it will go to the current account. But what Tata's did by purchasing of any assets. So it's I hope it's clear right now. When you are going to gain some assets by paying in the foreign currency, or you are going to get some foreign currencies by losing your asset, either you are going to gain the assets or you are going to gain or lose the assets. If you are going to gain the assets, you are going to make outflow of the foreign currency. If you are going to lose the assets, there will be the inflow of the foreign currency, right? So students get confused in terms of what money is coming and money is going, but you must see the purpose of incoming money and outgoing money. We are using the foreign currency. For foreign currency, I'm using only dollar as a standard thing, right? So foreign currency is incoming, foreign currency is outgoing. So this is why it is necessary to divide this balance of payment account into two basic parts. That is, one is a current account and another is a capital account. Why? Because broadly we can categorize inflow and outflow of the money in terms of trade and commerce. Whereas other way we can define in terms of what? Other way we can define in terms of the broad category is inflow and outflow of the foreign currency for the purpose of change in the ownership of assets. I hope it is clear right now. Shubham, I will come to that point. I told you that first I will explain the balance of payment. Then once you will understand the balance of payment, only then you are able to understand why a particular thing. Why a particular thing. Sir, in case of purchase of property tech, proprietary tech from Dassault, see, if you are purchasing any particular thing from the Dassault, for example, from Dassault Aviation, you have decided, for example, India has Mirage fighters and Jaguar fighters, right? India have Mirage fighters and Jaguar fighters. So for that Mirage and Jaguar fighters, if you are purchasing an engine, right, Sigma 88 engine, if you are purchasing that Sigma 88 engine from Dassault Aviation, so you are just purchasing an engine. So that will go to the current account, right? But if you are going to say that key Dassault Aviation, we are going to purchase some of the shareholding of your company. For example, India is going to purchase 20% in the Dassault Aviation engine manufacturing. Dassault Aviation is what? A conglomerate where there is many small companies also. So suppose that India is going to purchase 20% in their engine business, especially the Sigma 88 engine, which is used in the Dassault Rafale fighters. Right. So if you are purchasing 20% in the engine division of that company, then it will go to the capital account. Because India is going to get the ownership by paying that money. So always keep this thing in your mind whenever you are receiving the money, right? Whenever you are receiving the foreign currency or you are paying the foreign currency, then what is happening? Just trade and commerce is happening, or along with the trade and commerce, the ownership is also changing. So if Dassault is selling their engines, they are just selling their product and you are purchasing that product. There is no change in the ownership. But if the Dassault, along with the selling of their what? Along with the selling of their engines, they are also giving the 20% shareholding of their company to the Indian government or Indian private company. Then it is going to be what? Then it is going to be the capital account. If you are asking in the Dassault case, I'll let you know. When India has purchased this 36 Rafale fighters, there is a clause of what? There is a clause known as offset clause. Offset clause. What is offset clause? Under the offset clause, certain percentage. Suppose that this 36 rifle fighters, so out of this 36 rifle fighters, under the offset clause, certain amount, for example, suppose that offset clause is of 30%. So if the offset clause is of 30%, the price of 36 rifle, suppose that it is just it is $100. Okay. So when Indian government is going to pay $100 to Dassault, then Dassault definitely going to purchase at least $30 goods, $30 worth goods from Indian companies. So this is only selling and purchasing. Selling and purchasing. So till then it is just a selling and purchasing of goods and services. It is not going to be in the current account. When Dassault is going to say that, okay, we are going to establish our overhaul and maintenance facility. Overhaul and maintenance facility in India, right? We are going to establish our overhaul and maintenance facility in India with Reliance Defense. Then the ownership is coming to our country in terms of foreign direct investment. So we are going to have a joint ownership. Some ownership is going with the Indian firm, that is Reliance Defense, and some ownership is going to be by Dassault Aviation. So that is going to come to your country, right? In that sense, we can say that it's a capital account. Sir, out of context, but और पेटेंट्स भी ओनरशिप होती है. If we sell it, it will make engine and got patented. And if I am interested to sell, it will be the capital. That's true, but what do you think? They are going to sell their patent? No. Right now, the front line, one of the front line Indian fighters, Sukhoi Su-30 MKI fighters. These fighters are 100% manufactured in India. 100%. 100% each and everything is manufacturing in India, including engine. But that is under license production. Under license, you got this ability to produce that thing in India. So Sukhoi Su-30 MKI, they uses AL-31 engine. So they uses AL-31 engine, and see the trust between India and Russia. India and Russia have such kind of the trust ki the core secret of any fighter plane is their engine. One of the core secret is a fighter plane's engine. So they are manufactured in India under the license, but India is not trying to do the wrong things like Chinese did. They reverse engineers their engine. That's why they said that Russians said that we are not going to give you the license to manufacture further jets in your country. We will typically go for selling and purchasing business, right? But in India, they are licensely manufactured. So license has been given, for example, for 230 fighters. 230 fighters. So every fighter have two engines. So you can manufacture how much? 460 engines plus minus 10%. That means another 46 engine you can manufacture under the license given to you. So the patent is not going to be given. So this is what government of India want right now. After this Ukrainian and Russian war, what government of India? Why government of India is very concerned? Because government of India know that this critical technology at the time of war. At the time of war, when we need engine, and you are going to say that we will not give you the engine, then so this is why the effort is being made to make more Atmanirbhar, so that we should not rely. Right. So in that context, I hope you can understand there is a different concept of license manufacturing and holding the patent. पेटेंट मिल गया तो फिर क्या है? फिर तो मजे हो गए. फिर तो बनाओ इंजन, अपने घर में बनाओ और बनाओ भी और बाहर भी बेचो. ओके. So BOP, balance of payment account. One is current account and another is capital account. Okay. Right, trade account, sometimes it is called as balance of trade. Balance of trade. Another is invisible account. What will come in the invisible account, I will explain. But when the money will come to your country, when you are selling and purchasing the things, when you are selling and purchasing the thing, if you will sell something, it will be known as exports. It will be known as exports. When you will purchase something from outside, it will be known as import, right? So this is export and import, right? And generally what is going to happen, either exports are greater than import, or exports are equal to import, or exports are less than import, right? So if you have greater export, for example, if we have exported $400 billion worth goods, right? $400 billion worth goods, that is our export. Whereas import is what? Import is $350 billion. So we have a deficit of how much? Deficit of $50 billion in our trade account. We have a deficit of $50 billion in our trade account, right? So sometimes you have seen that India complains with China. There is huge trade deficit, or sometimes the term is used as trade imbalance. The trade imbalance or trade deficit. For example, in the case of India and China, so if you will see the trade between India and China, it is crossing around $120 billion. Now, India's largest trading partner is China, and the trade between India and China is somewhere around $120 billion. And out of this $120 billion trade, China is somewhere around exporting to us. Means we are importing. We can say two things. Means either we can say that we are importing $70 billion goods from China, or China can say that we are exporting $70 billion worth goods to India. Whereas at the same time, India is exporting $50 billion goods to China. So there is an imbalance of how much? $20 billion. $20 billion deficit is there when we are negotiating with the China. So whenever there are trade talks between India and China is going to happen, what will be one of the major issue is going to be raised by India. One of the major issue is going to be raised by India is the trade imbalance and trade deficit. And in that discussion, India can push China to open and allow certain or liberalize your policies for further Indian companies. Right? If you have put certain restrictions or there, you have to put it down and allow more and more Indian participation. Right? Whereas at the same time, we have a trade surplus with US. Means whatever we are selling, whatever we are exporting to Americans, we are getting less amount of import from the America. So India is in trade surplus with the US. So US is going to pressurize India ki allow your open your market for us, so that there should be the trade balance and imbalance, right? So this talk of the trade balance can be held at country to country level and overall level. Means trade related balance and imbalance with China, with Korea, South Korea, means Japan, US. So we can see respectively other countries, and finally we will see overall our trade balance, whether it is balance or having imbalance. So, if have you got the understanding about the trade balance? What is the trade balance actually? If you got the idea, then I have a question for you. If you got this idea, then let me know. I have a question for you. Okay. If you got this concept, apart from Sagar, nobody says yes. Trade deficit. To promote export and import, that is why there is an Exim Bank. Right. Now, just focus on this trade deficit. What trade deficit means? I hope you got the understanding with the trade deficit means our total trade deficit will happen in any country when imports are greater than exports. Right. Only then there will be the trade deficit. So there are two countries, A and B, both have the trade deficit. Okay, both have the trade deficit. Fine. So both have the trade deficit. So initially, the A country have a trade deficit, overall trade deficit, not with the particular country. Not with the particular country. We are talking in terms of complete trade deficit of country A and the trade deficit of country B. Overall their export and overall their import. So country A, its trade deficit earlier was 100 billion. Then it is declined to 70 billion. Again, it's declined to 50 billion. Right. Whereas country A, initially it was having trade deficit of, okay, no, okay, fine. So you can see that this country A have an ability to continuously decreasing its trade deficit. Okay, this country has shown its remarkable ability to continuously decreasing its trade deficit. Whereas this country, you can see that this country's trade deficit is continuously rising. Okay, so I hope you got my question. Can you tell me which country is performing better? Country A or country B? Which country is performing better? Country A is performing better or country B is performing better? Can you tell me the answer? Everyone who is in this session, सबको जयकारा लगाना है. Means everybody have to answer A or B. On the basis of trade deficit, on the basis of trade deficit, Arif, whatever the data I have given till then now, on the basis of that data, you have to answer. On the basis of that data, what I have provided you, on the basis of this data, we can say that country A is performing better than country B. Okay, on the basis of trade deficit. Now, I am going to add more data. I am going to include trade volume also. What is trade volume? For example, I told you $120 billion. $120 billion, out of which $70 billion by China to India and $50 billion by India to China. So this is the volume. This is the volume of trade. Volume of trade between India and China. Okay. When India will say we have deficit of how much? Chinese are means selling their product in India worth of $70 billion, and India is able to sell only $50 billion worth. So India will say that we have deficit of $20 billion, right? Whereas China will say surplus of $20 billion, right? So this is about deficit and surplus, and this is about volume. When we talk about when we are talking only two countries, that is India and China. So suppose that India is doing the trade only with China and China is also doing trade only with India, no other countries. So what we will say, what is the trade volume? The trade volume is $120 billion. Got it? So trade volume. Now here where I have just given you the data of what trade deficit, 100 billion, 70 billion, 20 billion. Now I am also going to give you what? The trade volume. The trade volume of country A, trade volume is means overall export and import. Total overall export and import of this country is what? Suppose that total overall export means it is exporting 500 and importing 400, right? So total volume is what? 900 billion dollar trade, $900 billion trade, and out of $900 billion, this is import and this is export. So export is $400 billion, import is $500 billion, total volume is 900, and they have deficit of 100. Okay, they have deficit of 100, and gradually what they did, they decreased. Sorry, they have maintained their what imports, that is 100, but they gradually increase their exports. So trade volume rises from 900 to 930. 900 to 930. Again, this is 500, and this is what? This is 450. So again, trade is rise to how much? Trade is rise to 950. So this is their trade volume. Now when we say the trade volume of what? Trade volume of country B. The trade volume of country B. So they are importing goods worth of 5,000. 5,000 import, right? And they are exporting how much? They are exporting 4,950. That is export. So this is why the deficit is of $50, right? Now this country B, they are doing what? They are importing 700. They are importing 7,000, 7,000, and importing how much? They are importing 6930, right? Dollar. Again, their volume rise to 9,000, and import is how much? Import is 9,000 and export is 89,000. So here what is happening? Here what is happening? Trade deficit is rising. If you will see, trade deficit is rising continuously. But at the same time, the trade volume is also expanding in the bigger manner if you will compare this country. If you will see this country, their growth rate is low or low to moderate, whereas this country is phenomenally increasing its trade volume. So what I want to explain you is, only trade deficit should not be taken as a consideration to understand country's economic status. You must add both what is trade deficit as well as trade volume. How much import are increasing, how much exports are increasing. All these things we must look before going to the conclusion. So in terms of only trade deficit, you can see that the country is performing better. But when I have added the trade volume, you have seen that the performance of country B is much better than country A. Right? Clear? So I hope you got the understanding of importance of volume, trade volume, right? Trade volume. So we should not just target on the trade deficit, we must also see the trade volume. Yes, obviously. See, when the trade volume is going to rise, trade volume here, what I was explaining you, this is imports. These all are imports and all these are exports. When your import is going to rise, when your import is going to rise, your import is going to rise only when your consumption is going to rise. Until unless how your import is going to rise. Your import is going to rise only when your consumption is going to rise. But yes, suppose that it is general perception. It is general perception, when you will earn more, only then you will consume more, right? But another condition, exception is what? When your imports are going to rise, your imports are also going to rise if your domestic economy is going to not perform well, then you are going to dependent on imports. But this is one scenario and it is very conservative understanding of rising import. It is a very conservative understanding why the imports are rising. Your imports can rise with the two reasons. One is because your domestic industry is not able to perform well and you are going to increase your import in order to consume properly or fulfill your requirements. In other case, when your imports are going to rise, your imports are going to rise when your country's people are having more income so that they can spend more money on what? On imports. अपने एग्जाम्पल दे देता हूं यार. इन चाइल्डहुड वी हैव हर्ड द वर्ड चीज. वो पता ही नहीं था क्या होता है. व्हाट इज इट इज मींस व्हाट इज द चीज काइंड ऑफ द थिंग, राइट? सुना था बस. ठीक है. इतनी भी मतलब जिस बैकग्राउंड से मैं हूं उस बैकग्राउंड पे बहुत बेसिक लेवल पे क्या है कि हमारे लिए ट्रीट क्या होता था. ट्रीट इज लाइक गेटिंग द मैगी. इट्स अ काइंड ऑफ ट्रीट. So forget about कि you have seen that particular thing, the cheese. Even in the very good stores, means there are the kirana stores or where we can purchase the daily needs kind of the thing. On this very few kirana store, it is like a what? It is like a luxury commodity, right? Cheese. अरे ब्रेड में चीज लगा हुआ है. ठीक है. हमारे लिए तो जैम भी एक था. ठीक है. So a thing happened with me and My friend, he always come with what in his tiffin box? He come with bread and jam, right? And jam was a little bit costly, and the kind of income was of my father at that point of time, so he was not able to afford it, right, for us. So generally he said that ki, no, 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 we are not going to have a jam. Next month I will see. Next month I will see, because I know that he don't have a money to afford that thing. So my mother woke up early in the morning, right, and make a proper roti sabzi or paratha in my tiffin. Whereas one of my friend, he bring what? Bread and jam. So it was a childhood times. So sometimes we get bully little bit to each other. So he said that, "You see, I can bring this." I said okay, fine, because your father, आपके पिताजी जो है उनके पास अच्छी इनकम है, मेरे फादर के पास अच्छी इनकम नहीं है. But my mother is very dedicated for my lunch, right? So she can woke up early in the morning and she can do that thing, right? I hope this is not happening your home. That's why you are bringing this bread and jam on daily basis. So, but he has not accepted that fact. After a few days, he told me personally कि यार तू सही कह रहा था. So you should be happy, right? Even whatever the situation you are facing, if you will be remain happy, then you are able to face the situation in the calm and cool manner, and you avoid kind of the thing. When you are going to get tensed, right, in a situation, then you are going to lose it, right? So in India, I have seen this thing. I have seen my childhood. The cheese, jam, such kind of the thing are luxury item for lower and middle class. But right now, I hope whenever you will go anywhere in India, like in urban or even in the semi-urban area, if you will ask the shopkeeper, I need some cheese, he is able to provide. But at a point of time, cheese is not available easily. Why? Because the consumption and income of Indians was very low. Gradually, in last 30 years, the income of Indians rise. So Indians are able to afford that cheese, right? So some cheese manufacturing expanded in India. Whereas Indians are also purchase some kind of the imported cheese, right? Imported cheese, because we have a paying capacity. So the cheese manufacturing in India increases, but at the same time, because we have a money, even we can afford the foreign country made cheese also. So this is why India's import in terms of cheese is rising, right? So sometimes we have this negative perception that our imports are rising, our imports are rising. True, imports are rising, but you have to look the reason why the imports are rising. So in economics, we always go in the background why. Why? If you are not going to see why, if you are not able to understand it properly, right? And if I want to manipulate you, I will not tell you why. I will just tell you this is the fact. This is the fact, and you must realize on that fact. I'm not going to tell you why, because if I will tell you why, I'm not able to manipulate you, right? So data, I don't remember the name of that British Prime Minister. He said there are a three kind of the lies, right? He said that there are three kind of the lies. One is a lie, another is super lie, and third is data, facts, and stats. The biggest lie. Why? Because you can manipulate with that data and facts. So if I am going to say that, see, India's imports is rising, rising, and rising. See the state of economy. But why it is rising? Is it rising because in competitiveness of Indian company, or it is rising because our income generation capacity is rising and our consumption capacity is rising, right? So these are the things you must have to keep in your mind. I hope you are not going to take imports totally in the negative manner. The biggest problem with the people who try to learn this subject, and especially this topic, whenever we call this an import, ठीक है, the villain kind of the image will come in your mind. So don't take it as a villain kind of the thing. Imports are also necessary, right? So it's a necessary part. Raj is saying that if we make a country A also 4-digit trade and deficit of B is rising, then you know the answer. If it is on 4-digit, then definitely performance of A is much better than performance of B. If suppose that the same data, if the trade volume is same of both country, what the trade volume of B is the trade volume of A, then in that case definitely A is the better country. Shubham, what is your area? Yes, Nistha, very good. Benjamin Disraeli. He said that. Sir, if the production cost is higher, then import can be substitution. Yes, yes, obviously. If the production cost in our country, why most of the American companies try to shift their production facility in the India and China? Because the production cost is very high. Production cost is very high in those countries. That's why they have shifted their production facility in the India and China. This is why the Donald Trump was want to shift all those production things in US back. Ki job loss is being there. Shubham, when your area is going to be developed, more developed, maybe yes, there are certain reasons. Still, people of India do not know that what is cheese. There are the certain people who do not know that. Even still, I know there are some places in India they have not seen the train. They have never seen a train in their life. So I hope all of you know the name of Amethi, a constituency of former Gandhi family. Means Gandhi family used to fight the election from Amethi. So my ancestor belonged to that place, Amethi. Right. So sometimes I used to say I'm from Amethi, right? Because our ancestor place is an Amethi. So when I was going there, I found a person and in between. So he told me that I have never seen a train in my life, and he was around 70-74 year old. Though the railway station is just, I think, from his place, it was just a 30-35 kilometer away from the railway station. But his life was entirely limited to his village only. So he has never seen that train. Some of the people in the northeast, they have never seen the train. Those who are living in the extremely village area, they are not able to see. So that is fact. This is what the inequality of development and income, what we was discussing in last two classes, inequality of the income. So that shows ki income is not equally distributed. Otherwise your area is also going to see this thing. Acha. Where in Amethi? Smriti Irani. Sir, in calculations of the trade deficit, are import and export partially adjusted? See, in economics there is no absolute. Economic data are never absolute. There is some adjustments, but they are completely calculated. In that terms, if you are asking, yes, they are completely calculated. They are not partially calculated. They are completely calculated. But data cannot be absolute anytime. Near Sultanpur. Okay. Yes. Yes. Mister, I used to go on Dhamar Road. Maybe this little bit private, but I used to go on Dhamar Road. My मामा जी जो है मेरे वहाँ रहते हैं, and Bua is also from means she got married in the political family. So no sir, purchase partially adjusted. Why? Why they are partially adjusted? Can you tell me? there is no reason to adjust it partially. It is completely going to, but the means the volume is going to be always lump sum, right? So this trade deficit, trade volume is clear, and trade is comprised of what? Trade is comprised of current account, balance of trade, invisible account. Okay, invisible account. So generally, when we talk about the invisible account, so when we talk about the invisible account, can you tell me some example? Why? See, invisible means what? When the trade happens, the things are properly visible. You can see that goods are moving from here to other country, whether it is kacha badam or cheese, they are moving here and there, and you can see it properly. So, in the invisible account, what we can put? Can anybody explain? An example? An example in this regard? An example? IT sector, crypto trade, unilateral transfers. Trade in services, unilateral transfers, remittances. I wrote remittances and unilateral transfers separately. Remittances means what? Remittances means that money which, for example, a person who is in UAE, right? A person is in UAE and he's transferring money to India, right? To his family. So this is one kind of the transfer. We can put it in a remittance. Remittance, when you are sending the money to your near and dear, that is known as remittance. Whereas suppose that some natural calamity or something happened, for example, during the COVID second wave. So some country is transferring their resources to India, right? That country is transferring their resources to India. In that case, we can call it as a unilateral transfers, right? So that is why it is a little bit what important to categorize it separately, because remittances means when you are sending the money to your near and dears, right? So this is the remittances, right? Whereas when you are transferring, for example, somebody has created an account and you want to help the Ukrainian people, then you can put that money in the unilateral transfers from India to Ukraine. Whereas this money which somebody is working in Ukraine and they are sending their money to their family here in India, then it will come under the category of remittances. Clear? Now, third thing, services, trade in services, right? So, trade in services means what? The services, because they are not visible. For example, uh, I am providing the services from the remote location. All of you are sitting at the different places. Somebody is providing services from here. For example, at Vimeo, we are using the services of Vimeo, right, to run these classes. So Vimeo is basically US based firm. Zoom is US based firm. Right. It is based, but Zoom is owned by the Chinese, but it is a US based firm. So similarly, we are taking the services of Vimeo to run this platform, right, for the live classes. So Vimeo is providing the services, right? So services are not properly physically visible. So services always are flowing in terms of what? Invisible, right? It is always showing in terms of invisible. Fine. So that is why trade in services come under the category of invisible account. Invisible account. Is it clear? Why we put the services in that account? Invisible account? If you will call to Amazon customer care service, so maybe you are going to get the call from Ireland. If you call to the people of Amazon customer care, because many times whenever I have called, I I was getting the call from Ireland, so I was little bit surprised why the call is coming from the Ireland, and the person who is speaking with me, he is speaking the Indian accent. So I was further surprised ki the person who is talking to me, he is talking in such a manner. I understand he is from what? He is from India only, right? But the number which is reflecting on the screen, that is having this ISD code of country of Ireland, right? So sometimes what? The software services or the Amazon customer care services is is working from their Ireland base, right? Maybe they are working with their Ireland base, but the service provider, the customer care service agent, is sitting in India. So the Indian one Indian is getting through service from another Indian, right? But it is not moving in this manner. It is going to what? Ireland. From Ireland, it is routing to India. So the system of services is getting more and more complex day by day. Example, Zoom is a US based company, but it is owned by whom? Chinese. Right? It is owned by Chinese. So this is why I told you na, ki just not only what is happening, why it is happening is very important. Okay. So crypto will be come in the capital account or current account. Difficult to express in the monetary terms. Shashwat, actually crypto is like orphan, and government of India has not recognized at yet, right, the status of that orphan, right? So once the government of India is going to recognize its status, only then I can make the comment. But if it is going to be decided as what? Commodity. So we are doing the commodity trade, and that will come under the invisible account, not in the capital account. If government of India is going to recognize as a commodity, right, let the government of India has have to decide. Once the government of India is going to decide, only then we can say that. Don't jump in that conclusion. Don't go there, right? Because its status is not cleared, and sometimes things look like कि they are what? They are commodity, and they are not exactly. So we must know the FEMA Act also, right? So please, with this basic understanding, don't try to jump in that particular thing where the things is still not decided. It is still not decided. Okay. So NFT and crypto, don't try to jump there, because it's things are not clear, and those things are not clear, you have to be remain what, silent. So it's the best thing, rather than you are going to make a comment and assessment and it is going to be wrong. And especially I'm not going to make any comment till then government of India is going to clarify. But yes, the day government of India is going to clarify, I will come up with this thing in a very clear manner, ki where it is going to be there posted in the current account or capital account. But probability is like ki they are going to be come under the category of current account only rather than capital account. This is what my analysis, but let's see what government of India is going to consider it. Okay. Any other question regarding current account? So I have discussed only current account. I have not finally see when I said the current account is a part of what? Current account is a part of BOP, right? So we must have to check balance of current account and either it will be surplus or zero or deficit. So for deficit, we use the term CAD, or for surplus, we can use the term CAS. But India has not reached to properly means at point of time India CAD was almost zero, but India was not able to achieve this thing now. We have a consistent or persistent current account surplus, right? But India have the current account deficit, and that current account deficit must be studied properly. We will do it later, but I hope you got the understanding of balance of trade account and invisible account, remittances, unilateral transfers, trade in services. Got the clarity? Any doubt or question? Universal transaction or unilateral transactions? I hope you are asking for unilateral transactions. Unilateral transactions means what? I have initiated I have initiated a transaction which is not for my loved ones, but it is for anyone. Means it can be for country, it can be go for particular group, or it can be go for particular group who is suffering. So, for example, India has sent tons of wheat to Afghanistan. So that is unilateral transfer from India to Afghanistan, but the commodity is transferred. Suppose that for help of the Afghan people, right? Another example. Uh, this suppose that suppose that there is a particular in Cambodia there are Khmer Rouge temple, right, of Lord Vishnu and Sun temple. So government of India said that ki as a cultural, because it's a cultural heritage of Cambodia but having a close connection with the India. So government of India have a wish to send some monetary assistance to the country of Cambodia in order to preserve those sites, World Heritage sites. So you have transferred some amount to the Cambodian government for the purpose of what? Renovation of proper maintenance of that particular area, right? Then it will be come under the what? Then it will come under the unilateral transfer. However, suppose that government of India is going to make a law in the parliament ki in order to promote Indian culture, in order to promote Indian culture, we are going to create a fund. We are going to create a fund of, suppose that, $500 million, and with that fund we are going to transfer the money to certain countries where Indian heritage are being there, right? So this is again a unilateral transfers, but now it is properly channelized. Earlier it was a unilateral transfer which is based on government of India's wish and will. Now we have institutionalized. We will send some aid in terms of money, right? So unilateral transfers means ki something which I am going to do on my conscience. If my conscience says that ki I have to go for it, I will go for it. Otherwise, I can refuse, right? For example, charity. So most of the times if somebody is going to ask me कि what I need money, I have, मैंने सुबह से कुछ नहीं खाया तो चल भाई आजा खिला खिला देता हूँ. Many times if you will go to the student area where the students are residing at the coaching institute, are there a lot of beggars, young kids, कि they are begging for what? They are begging money, right? सुबह से कुछ नहीं खाया, ठीक है चलो खिला देता हूँ. तो वो खाने को तैयार नहीं, उसको पैसे चाहिए. ठीक है. तो अब अगर आप उसके ऊपर दया दिखाते हो, यू आर गोइंग टू शो योर काइंडनेस एंड यू हैव गिवन द मनी, सो दिस इज गोइंग टू बी व्हाट? यूनिलैटरल ट्रांसफर्स. Unilateral transfer, you are not bound to do that thing. I am completely what? I am completely going to be with the rational. Okay, you want food, I will provide you the food. You want clothes, I will provide you the clothes. I'm not going to give you the money, right? So this is what sometimes we do decide. It's up to us. That will come under the what? That will come under the category of grants and see, donation and grants, right? Grants are sometimes considered as a grant, as a loan, grant as an aid. So if the grant is being given as an aid, then it will be unilateral transfer. But if the grant is being provided in terms of loan, then it will be not unilateral transfers. Then it will be not unilateral transfers. Okay. See, if the amount is low, what, see, suppose that we do the trade of what? We do the trade of $50 billion. In the balance of trade, it is $50 billion. Okay, the balance of trade account have a transaction of volume of $50 billion, and invisible account have a transaction of what? Invisible account have a transaction of, suppose that, $20 billion. $20 billion. So overall current account volume is $70 billion, and out of that, here the unilateral transfers are just consider is कि we have provided the aid of 100 or $10,000. We have provided the aid of $10,000. So considering this volume of 50, and so that can be considered as a leakage. It will be considered as a leakage. It is not going to use. But one is analysis, but it is going to be reflected in the account, but it is not going to be used for the purpose of what? Analyzing the thing, because it's a very small amount. Saikat sir, at the end of, please tell how to cover newspaper in 1 hour for grade B. Which newspaper you are reading? All of you are reading the newspapers? If you are reading the newspaper, then let me know. Business Standard. Okay. Mint. Not started yet, sir. I can read current affairs only. See, if all of you are interested, then I will go for a session with example, with having the newspaper on the screen. I will let you know what kind of the news you can focus and what kind of the news you should lift. This is I can do if everyone want the session, right? At least 60% vote is required. Right now 18 people are watching it live, it is showing to me. So if at least 60% people are agree, then I'll take a session how to read the newspaper, right? And it is going to help you for grade B as well as civil services exam, right? Whereas if you are only interested in that way, then I will do that thing. I will discuss with you over the phone. But if many people are interested, only then I can go for the session, separate session. Okay, I will do the session. I will do the session. I will let you know the timing in this week. In this week only I will do the session. Okay, the current affairs, how to read the newspaper. I will discuss with Ashokji regarding at what time we can conduct this session, but I will discuss this session how to go for the newspaper, right? And newspaper can be done within 35 to 40 minutes, 40 to 45 minutes. It's not more than required, but that 40-45 minutes concentrated effort is required, and that is going to be sufficient. Newspaper reading is one of the most important thing. Newspaper reading is one of the most important thing. I'll show you this line. Just give me a second. Okay, I will discuss and I will let you know. I will let you know. Today I'm not going to have this descriptive session. Tomorrow I will conduct the descriptive session. And tomorrow also I'm going to announce when I'm going to take this newspaper session. Okay. So it's very difficult to read from the PDF because Mint is not available in our city. So I want to ask, should I go for Hindu? But Mint also provide in a very crisp and comprehensive way. Important for RBI. सर सीए को कितना टाइम दिया दे दिन भर में इफ यू आर रीडिंग द न्यूज़पेपर then no need to do anything. Just read the newspaper at the month end. You just use the compilation. That is more than sufficient for the CA current affairs. So I will do one thing in the current affairs session. I will also let you know how to handle this current affairs part. Okay, but right now I have some work, so I have to finish this session right now. Okay, I will discuss further tomorrow. Okay, thank you.